Okay, we're going to work on determining positive or negative intervals in this example. And we can do this without graphing it. Normally, we would be able to look at a graph, identify where's your function positive above the x-axis, where's your function negative below the x-axis, and find those intervals. So to do this algebraically, what we're going to do is we're going to take our function and we're going to find the zeros of the function. And then the zeros of the function will help determine our intervals, and then we'll figure out if it's positive or negative in each interval. So to find the zeros of the function, that means we're going to set our function equal to 0. And we're going to solve this. X squared minus 2x minus 3. We can solve this by factoring. When we factor, take note of your a value. A is equal to 1. This is going to be easier factoring. So what are factors of negative 3? Our c value that add up to our b value of negative 2. Well, your factors of 3 are just 1 and 3. But if we make the 3 negative, now they multiply to negative 3 and add up to a negative 2. So if we look at this in factored form, we have 0 equals x plus 1 times x minus 3. Once it's in factored form, you set each factor equal to 0. This is using our zero product property. And that allows us to solve for x, which gives us x-intercepts and the zeros of a function. So we'll subtract 1, so x equals negative 1. I can write that a little more clearly. And then we would add 3, and the other 0 of the graph is 3. Okay. So this is where our parabola is crossing the x-axis at a negative 1 and a positive 3. So our middle interval is going to be negative 1 is less than x is less than positive 3. Our function could be above the x-axis there, or it could be below the x-axis. The interval to the right of that, that's when all your x's are greater than 3. And the interval to the left of that is when your x's are less than negative 1. So if you think visually, here's our interval from negative 1 to 3 in the middle. To the right of that, your x's would be greater than 3, and to the left of that, your x's would be less than a negative 1. We want to figure out if our function is positive or negative in each of these intervals. So all we have to do is, well, I'm going to rewrite the function above. Y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3, just so we have it handy right there. We're going to pick an x value that is less than negative 1 and test it. Do we get a positive or negative y value? So let's say we're going to choose, let's just choose x to equal a negative 2. Is negative 2 less than negative 1? It is. So we can plug that in. We get negative 2 squared minus 2 times negative 2 minus 3. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 minus 3. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. We are getting a positive value for our y, or a positive value for the function in this interval of x is less than negative 1. All right, so let's try another one. Let's go to our middle one. We're going to choose an x value that is between negative 1 and 3. It can be anything. Honestly, I'm going to pick 0. 0's a nice number to plug in. Things simplify away pretty quickly. So I'm going to plug in a 0 for all the x's. So 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3. That gives us 0 minus 0 minus 3. 0 minus 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. And see how we got a negative answer there? So that tells me that this is a negative interval. All right, last one, when x is greater than 3, Let's choose an x value to plug in to see if it's gonna give us a positive or negative answer. So let's maybe choose x equal to 4. It can be any positive number. I'm just trying to work with smaller values. So let's plug in a 4 for all of our x's. 4 squared minus 2 times 4 minus 3. 4 squared is 16 minus 8 minus 3. 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. And 5 is a positive number. So the question was, identify the intervals on which the function is positive. Well, our function is positive here on this interval, x is less than -1, and it's positive here on that interval when x is greater than 3. So to write that out as an answer, we would say the function is positive when, that should say when, x is less than -1 or when x is greater than 3.